In a world of ordinary fantasy football podcasts, ordinary guys rise up to bring you extraordinary analysis and entertainment. This is the FLAFFL Fantasy Football Podcast with your hosts Kevin Cotillo, Sal Lito, and Stephen Marcus.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Today is Sunday, November 20th, and this is the Falafel House Fantasy Football Podcast. I have with me Steve Marcus tonight. What's going on,
Steve?
What up?
Oh, not a whole lot. Just
how's
enjoying another going? Sunday. Oh, it's going well. It's going well, although football has been a little brutal today. A little rough.
Day. I'm a little off today, I'm not going to lie. It's been a difficult day of watching football.
Yep, heart is a little heavy going into week 12. So, yep, we will get into all of that coming up on the show today.
Absolutely. We also have Sal Lito with us again. What's up, Sal?
Hi, I'd like to bring some life to this funeral, for Christ's sake.
Wow.
It's like, like somebody died in here.
Yeah, look, it's a tough day today. I mean, there's a lot of injuries, a lot to be concerned about as we're all getting ready for our fantasy football playoffs. And yet you're here happy and jovial.
Yes, but every fantasy football funeral becomes new waiver wire gems.
Oh, good.
I like your outtake on life, Sal.
Yeah, I got nothing else going on, too.
She's usually the most miserable one out of all of us, so this is weird.
This is not true. Take a look in the mirror, sir.
Wow, the mirror. Anyway, so thank you for joining us on the show. As Steve mentioned, we will be going through all of the Sunday action tonight, or tomorrow morning if you are listening in the morning. My name is Kevin Cotillo. You can follow me on Twitter as @WallyCentral. You can follow Steve as @SidSkeet. You can follow Sal as @LitoSal. You can follow the show as @Falafel House. And be sure to check out falafelhouse.com for daily content regarding fantasy football. Anything I missed there, Steve? I know you typically go through it at the end as well, so...
No, that's pretty good. That's pretty good for the intro. You hit all the important ones.
The major points. Yep,
you got them.
I'd also like to remind everyone to check out the Fantasy Life app, which is where you can find Sal, Steve, and I to answer any questions in the Falafel House chat or even on the main page. So, any quick hit thoughts before we get into all the games? Lots of stuff happening. Obviously, lots of injuries as we will cover throughout the games. But Sal, what's your initial thoughts on this week?
Jeez. Well, I was looking pretty good in falafel until the Miami Dolphins decided to play 6 minutes of football today and ruin all of that for me. That's going to be the lasting impression of Week 11 for me. I've done well pretty much everywhere else, but I think everybody will come back to the injuries, and we will get to them. So, but right off the top, one that people might have missed, so I'll make sure to point it out because it's coming out after the game. No one knew about it. Was Giovanni Bernard appears to have torn his ACL. So, Burkhead. Burkhead's next up, boys.
Burkhead. I've got a question. On your rosters. We're watching this Sunday night game, and Mike Tirico is filling in tonight for Al Michaels. Do you think if Mike Tirico does good enough that he is going to take this job from Al Michaels, and Al Michaels is going to have to be backup commentator for Sunday Night Football?
No.
I think Al Michaels is a proven history that he can get the job done.
I'm pretty sure that Al Michaels is solidified his role in Sunday Night Football, at least until he decides to retire or says something incredibly dumb on the air.
So you don't think this is a Tom Brady, Drew Bledsoe situation?
I don't think he's going to get Bledsoe, no.
I think
or
Mike
Brady.
Tirico
I don't know which way you call that, but...
I'm pretty sure Tirico was brought in with the purpose of replacing Al Michaels at some point, right? I mean, you don't leave Monday Night Football as the lead commentator to go to Sunday Night Football to do like 5-minute intro and outro stuff.
Wait a minute, was it his choice? For some reason, I didn't think it was his choice to leave Monday Night Football.
I was under the impression he chose to leave Monday Night Football.
Oh.
They put in that dullard from New England that you like so much. The guy's horrific. I don't know how you praise him constantly, McDonough.
That guy is boring.
When do I praise him constantly? I just said I think he's a good announcer.
Every time
I think he's fine.
about him, you're like, oh, McDonough, blah, 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 smoking, blowing up.
It's a New England thing for sure, because Field Yates really likes him too. And I don't get it.
He's the ultimate professional. I don't know how you cannot like the guy.
He's boring.
Well, so are you.
No, I would think if we put that to a vote, you'd lose.
Sean McDonough would lose.
I have nothing to say. Let's get to the game, Steve.
Okay, let's start talking about Week 11. The Steelers go into Cleveland, and they do what everyone thinks they should have done. They beat the Browns 24-15. Le'Veon Bell, he has himself a day with 146 rushing yards, 55 receiving yards, also adding a touchdown to that. He's got 60 fantasy points in the last 2 weeks. He is starting to come on real strong. Big Ben and Antonio Brown, they have pretty blah days, definitely not what you've expected with this matchup. And then for the Browns, Gary Barnidge has a nice day, as does Terrell Pryor. Really the only startable pieces on that offense, and even then they seem to be matchup dependent. So, Kev, what did you find from this game that you are taking with you into Week 12?
Well, first of all, I don't know that Gary Barnidge actually even had a good day. He gets the touchdown, which salvages it, but he only had 2 catches on 5 targets for 23 yards. So, I mean, for tight ends, because he scored, he gets, he has a good day. But overall, not a lot of targets, not a lot of volume. Josh McCown comes in for Cody Kessler, who leaves with a concussion. So obviously that's his second concussion this year. So you got to figure he's probably going to miss a week here. That helps Barnidge. Obviously McCown and Barnidge have a little connection going where McCown looks to him quite regularly. So that could help. Barnidge quite a bit going forward. I think Corey Coleman, it was interesting. He had 12 targets, led the way with the 12 targets, but only converted on 4 of them for 39 yards, so not a great day there. But he did get, as I said, lead the team in targets, so that's an interesting thing to keep an eye on. He is getting worked in more in this offense. He's definitely a big piece of it. Unfortunately, it's just not going well for him quite yet. He's a rookie, so you gotta hope that he'll start to pick things up if you are depending on Corey Coleman in anywhere. I'm probably the only one in the world doing that. So on Pittsburgh's side of the ball, I thought Ben Roethlisberger has a career yards per attempt average of 7.9. He was at 4.6 in this one. If you look at yards per completion, his career is 12.3. He was at 7.3 in this one. Just overall, it was just not a good day for him. You got to wonder if the wind played a big factor in that, or if they just didn't really have to move the ball through the air because Le'Veon Bell was so good. I'm not worried about them going forward. I think that overall that the offense here will be fine. I don't know, trustworthy as far as these guys going forward. Obviously, it's the big 3. It's Big Ben, it's Lev Bell, it's Antonio Brown. After that, you're kind of throwing darts. I think Eli Rogers looked good the couple weeks before, but comes back down to earth with 4 catches in this one, so not a whole lot there. And still no real Ladarius Green sightings. He did get targeted twice. He dropped an end zone pass, so that did kind of would have made it look a little better, but still not being utilized too much. And he actually got out targeted by Jesse James in this one. So.
Oh, is that where I step in and give you both the big middle finger for recommending him to me?
God, I hate you tonight.
Jerk.
I didn't recommend him to you. I recommend him to everyone else.
Already, I hate you tonight. We're only 8 minutes in.
I don't give a crap. You recommended a piece of garbage tight end. I'm dropping him. I'd rather play Jarrell Adams.
You want that one target?
At least.
Hey, Ladarius Green out-targeted Jarrell Adams.
At least he tried. I got nothing from this game other than Cleveland is an absolute fantasy wasteland. If you're going here for points, you might as well start making plans for 2 weeks from now because you're going to have Sundays off.
All right. Well, then we will move on. Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys continuing their winning streak at home against the Ravens, winning this one 27-17. Dez Bryant, he's the big point scorer from this one, catches 6 passes for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. Dak Prescott, he throws for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Zeke has another good afternoon. He totals 127 yards. And then for the Ravens, you've got Steve Smith. He was the man for them, catching 8 passes for 99 yards and a touchdown. So, Sal, what are you taking from this Ravens-Cowboys game?
Yeah, I was actually impressed with the Ravens. The Ravens played really well early, and I thought they actually had a legitimate shot at this game. Steve, you were probably the one person who picked them to win this game, which was kind of bold, being that it was in Dallas. But Ravens played well. I've been hard on them, and they look like they might actually be a team to be reckoned with, at least for that division going forward, because Pittsburgh really has not played very well, and Cincinnati has all but wrote themselves off, and then you have Cleveland. So maybe Baltimore hangs around and does a little bit better than we expected. I mean, Des Bryant, I always say he's got the best potential tight end upside of any wide receiver in the NFL.
Wait a second, he has tight end upside?
Did I say tight end? I made a mistake. All right, buddy. Nothing like hanging on every word I say tonight, Kev.
Hey, I'm just trying to pay attention. You told me to make sure.
Touchdown upside.
You told me to make sure he did that.
Touchdown upside was the phrase I was looking for. He has the best touchdown potential of any wide receiver in the league. That's just my opinion. To me, the ball goes up in the red zone. There's nobody I'd rather go for it than Des Bryant. That's my opinion. Ezekiel Elliott, I did make the statement that he would go for 100 yards rushing and a touchdown. Even on this tough defense, he did not get the touchdown. He did come up 3 yards short of 100 rushing yards. But this guy is proven on a weekly basis that he could go out there and even grind it out in tougher games like he did today. Dak Prescott just continues to impress. Some people thought that there would be more pressure on him this week with Tony Romo coming out and saying what he said. And the kid rushed for 301 yards and 3 touchdowns. And, he had 16 on the ground, but he just does whatever he needs to do. In my opinion, he's in the running for NFL, definitely Rookie of the Year, but MVP of the year, even over Ezekiel Elliott. It's a tougher position to play quarterback than it is running back. And I would absolutely put him in the running ahead of Ezekiel Elliott for NFL MVP. Over on the Baltimore side, you pointed out Steve Smith Sr. I mean, this guy, basically he was retiring last year, if not for an injury, and he just goes out on a weekly basis at his age, which is closer to mine than Steve's, and continues to perform at an elite level. It's very, very impressive. And in my opinion, he's making a big claim to be a Hall of Famer, not a first ballot Hall of Famer, but definitely a Hall of Famer when he does retire. Listen, we thought that maybe Kenneth Dixon would start to take over the position here. There weren't a lot of touches on either side for either running back, but Terrence West led the way with 8 for 42 and a touchdown, and there was only one reception to running backs today, and it went to Terrence West. So, not a whole lot else on the offensive side for Baltimore. But, Kevin, did you see anything else that I missed?
I thought it was nice that Steve Smith didn't just walk off into the sunset after his 1,000th catch like he said he might do earlier in the season. So that was good.
He still has to come out next week.
Well, that's true.
We'll see.
That's true. No, I not a whole lot. I thought it was, obviously Elliott's lowest yards per carry all year since, week 2 he had a 3.95. This week he had 3.9. So, but I think that just really legitimizes the Ravens defense. Dez with 19 points in 3 of his last 4. So, turning it around here, getting a rapport with Dak, which I think we all thought would happen eventually. It's good to see that. And, Cole Beasley, a guy you didn't talk about, he's just a very consistent performer. He's not going to give you highs, but he's definitely not going to give you the absolute lows. For me, he continues to be a solid, usable flex.
And I'll just add really quick for the Baltimore Ravens, it looks like they're probably going to have to hold on and win that division because of how strong the AFC West is. It doesn't look like many other their wild cards will probably both come from there, and they have already beat Pittsburgh once. So good to see that from them. I think they are a little bit better than people have been giving them credit for. But we will move on and talk about the Lions.
I gave them credit, Steve. Get off my back.
I want you to give them more, Sal. They deserve more. But it's for another time. We'll talk about the Lions coming back against the Jaguars thanks to the inept Blake Bortles. They win by a score of 26-19. This was kind of a weird game. Matthew Stafford doesn't throw a touchdown, but the Lions put up 26 points. Eric Ebron actually gets a rushing touchdown here, and the special teams, they have a really good afternoon. Blake Bortles sent to the locker room, just like I predicted. He wouldn't be playing all the snaps in this one. And but he did end up coming back, unfortunately. Allen Robinson and the Tusk, they have some solid afternoons, but Blake Bortles is just absolute garbage. So, Kev, what do you want to say about this game? Were you impressed by anything that went on in this game?
No, actually, the first note that I have here written down here is it had to be one of the ugliest games of this week. I mean, this is just gross. Detroit defense, I didn't look at all the numbers, but I'm pretty sure led the scoring for fantasy with 19 points. They
did. I got them at 20, Kev. They definitely led. Yeah, by almost 6 points over the next highest scoring person in the game this particular game.
Absolutely ridiculous. They scored 2 touchdowns, 1 punt return, and 1 interception return. Ebron runs in the touchdown. I mean, just all around. A-Rob was terrible again, but at least he gets a score. And Bortles is just plain brutal, like you said. He can't. They really need to do something else, anything else. I don't know how you can look at that and still just keep running them out there. But and you know what? The worst part is for them, the schedule gets worse. Like coming up, I mean, if you're depending on any of these guys, coming up in the schedule for them is Buffalo, Denver, Minnesota, Houston, and Tennessee. Those are all very solid defenses. I do not trust any of your Jaguars at this point. I don't see how you could. I mean, even with Ivory, who has a decent day because of the receiving yards, you can't count on that. It's not like he's a regular receiver for them. So
you'll just have to see what happens with Yeldon. The reason he was getting all those receiving yards is Yeldon left the game with an ankle injury, and so we don't know exactly what's going on with that. If that's going to cost him any more time, which could help Ivory going forward. But with those defense you just read. Yeah. That's scary.
Yeah, not good. On the Detroit side of the ball, I think better days are ahead for Matthew Stafford. Theoretic had a rough day on the ground, but at least he does what he does, which is catch passes out of the backfield. He had 10 targets in this one, which is great. Nothing else there. Steve, how do you feel about Marvin Jones right now?
Oh, I hate it. I hate him right now. I really do. Brutal. I made a trade for him a few weeks ago in FLAFFL. I traded Julian Edelman straight up for Marvin Jones, and it has just absolutely been brutal. He is the wide receiver 3 on their team. He's behind Anquan Bolden. He's getting less targets. He's getting less catches. It's a complete 180 from how the season started. Jim Bob Cooter came out this week saying that they were going to try and get him more involved. That obviously did not happen this week.
Lies.
But, yeah, all lies. All coach speak. It's just you can't trust these guys. You can't trust them, and it's been rough. It's been rough. So I was gonna ask you guys: do you think that Marvin Jones is droppable in 12-team formats?
Ooh, well, by the way, he's the 4th receiver behind Riddick.
That's true. Absolutely.
And I don't know. I guess it's got to depend on what's available and what you're picking up for him because there's still time.
There's a lot of garbage out there.
Yeah, and there's also injuries can happen. You never know. The guy has been successful already this year. So if something was to happen to a Tate or something along those lines or Bolden, he's a guy I would like to have on my bench. So I don't think I'm playing him anytime soon. And unless I see like I would take a Cameron Meredith over him at this point because Meredith I think will be the lead wide receiver there in Chicago. While he didn't have a great day today, he had the best day out of anybody. And the Giants are playing good defense. So I think going forward, Meredith is a guy I'd rather have over him. Tyler Boyd would be a guy I would pick up over him at this point with A.J. Green being out. So it's all a matter of who's available as far as I'm concerned.
Fair enough. Sal, do you have anything else you want to add to this one?
Yeah, Detroit just can't run the ball at all. Washington was back, and he carried the ball 13 times for only 6 yards. Riddick carried the ball 4 times for 13 yards. He actually had a lot of those yards on one carry when he got tackled at the 1. I was like, wow, they're giving him a chance by the goal line. And then that's when they went to Ebron on the next play, and that was another kick and a ding-ding. So that didn't make me very happy. And over on the Jacksonville side, Kevin did not point out that I lost the bet, Kevin, and I now have to take a picture with the Patriots.
Yes.
Booyah.
For Twitter because 12.2 points does not qualify for it's 12.4. Still doesn't qualify for top 10
does
this
not
week
qualify.
in fantasy football. So that sucks. Other than that,
that'll be fun for the week.
Marquise Lee is a guy I mentioned a few weeks back. He definitely has passed up Allen Hurns as the number 2 wide receiver on his team. And funny that I mentioned him, and I've been on him, and I picked him up in a lot of places. And then when I had the choice in DraftKings this week, I played Hurns over Lee, and it absolutely cost me in 2 places where I was atop the leaderboard all day. One of them was a winner take all, and I'm going to finish 3rd. And I would have likely finished 1st if I played Lee over Hurns. So he's a guy also. If he's available, I would pick him up. Get him on your roster.
All right, I'll just ask real quickly. You guys can say, with Matthew Stafford's bad game this week, is he an obvious try to buy low candidate heading before trade deadlines end this week?
Ooh.
I don't have a schedule open in front of me, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty good going down the stretch. So
I'm looking it up right now. So down the stretch, they have Minnesota, but then New Orleans, Chicago, New York Giants, Dallas. So not actually a great schedule.
It's average, yeah.
It's very average, yeah. And the way he's been, I mean, not great. I mean, he's kind of up and down all over the place. Highest point total of the year was back in Week 6, 28.2 points when he threw 4 touchdowns against L.A. Since then, 17, 13, 14, and now 11. So, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely not a guy that I'm buying low. I think if someone maybe panics and drops him or something like that, I pick him up. But I don't know that I'm trying to buy him at all.
I actually, for some reason, had him in my lineup today over Andrew Luck and switched them 10 minutes before kickoff. That worked out.
Congratulations for you.
All right. Well, speaking of Andrew Luck, then let's talk about them beating the Titans for the 11th straight time by a score of 24-17. Andrew Luck passes for over 250 yards and gets 2 touchdowns, but throws a bad interception towards the end of the game. Moncrief, he gets another touchdown because that's what he does. He's taken over Eric Decker's job this season, and T.Y. Hilton gets another one. For the Titans, they didn't have a terrible afternoon, but no one really had a great afternoon. DeMarco Murray gets a touchdown that saves his day. Mariota goes for 300 yards, and then he throws another 2 touchdown passes. So, Sal, we'll start with you on this one. What did you see in this game?
I'll tell you what I didn't see. I didn't see Derrick Henry anywhere.
Nope.
No. Again, it just shocks me that they don't get this guy any touches. So if you're a DeMarco Murray owner,
was he even on the field at all?
I haven't seen him.
Did he get any snaps?
I'd have to really look at snap breakdown, but he did not get a touch or a target that I saw at all. So I may have waited too long in FLAFFL because I've gotten offers for the guy. I don't think Brooksy, who is the Alabama homer of all homers, who even reached out to me before this week and asked me about him. I actually reached out to him today, and he asked me a couple of questions, and he said, I'm going to pass on him. so I'm stuck with Derrick Henry. Andrew Luck, like you said, not a superb day, but a solid fantasy day. Frank Gore again with just combined yardage through the air and on the ground has a really solid RB2 type of day. We don't need to go on and on about Moncrief. We all know how much we enjoy his weekly touchdown output over at Tennessee. Now. Yeah, he's just, and I think it's 4 out of 5 games that he's played this year.
Yeah,
it's very impressive. Rashard Matthews, I don't know if Steve mentioned him or not because I barely listened. 9 catches for 122 yards. We mentioned last week, and I think Steve mentioned the week that I was away. He was his waiver wire pickup. And then I mentioned again this past week that he had 6 touchdowns in 6 games. He did not have a touchdown this week, but 9 for 122 really makes up for it. Tajay Sharp is a guy the last couple of weeks is starting to get some more looks, and he's starting to get red zone looks and touchdowns. And, it's just a good-looking team right now, Tennessee. They lost a tough one to the Colts today, and I pointed out that this would be a big decision-maker as to who was going to challenge Houston for the division. I have a feeling that Tennessee's still going to be hanging around. They're competing very well. Good young team. Kev?
Definitely a good young team. Tajay Sharp's catch, his touchdown catch was really nice. I like that. Definitely a guy you want to keep on your radar. I don't think he's a guy that you can trust this year. Maybe in a spot start here or there or a flex play, from time to time. But I think he's going to continue to be up and down. But definitely talented. So if you're in a keeper or in a or a dynasty, if you probably already have him if you're in dynasty. But or he's taken anyway, but definitely got to keep an eye on. Let me ask you this, Sal, talking about Dynasty a little bit here. What do you think? I mean, you obviously have Henry, and I'm assuming you were planning on keeping him in FLAFFL, which has 3 keepers. What do you think as far as next year for him? I mean, DeMarco Murray has really looked good. I think it was kind of a foregone conclusion before the season that Murray would be here for a year, and then while they eased Henry in, and then Henry would probably take over. But
I think being that it's a young team going forward, it's still going to be Henry's team next year. I don't think they'll spend the money that they would need to spend to keep DeMarco Murray, having Henry there. So I think it becomes Henry's team next year. I don't know. For me personally, it would be a third-round keeper because I did take him in the 4th round. Now, mind you, at home, that is a 16-team league, and I don't think any of us thought that DeMarco Murray was going to have the stronghold on a position and just dominate the way he has dominated this year. So I thought there was a high upside to taking him in that spot. So for me, I don't see why I would keep him at that value, but I do think it's going to be his team next year.
All right. Well, then I would say you might want to keep him considering it's a team that runs a lot. But that's your call.
Want to trade for him, Ben? Trade for him?
I'll give you Dwayne Washington.
Oh, pass.
Enticing. Anything else from this game?
Not really. I think Andrew Luck looked like he was going to have such a great day. It was so disappointing for me when he stopped throwing touchdowns or running for touchdowns. And anyway, go on.
All right. Well, then we will get into our first.
Do we have to get to the next game? Do we have to?
We do. We're going to talk about the Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals. Buffalo winning this one 16-12. The biggest news from this game, obviously, on the first play of the game, Dalton throws to A.J. Green, goes down, instantly grabs his hamstring, and is carted off the field. Reports are now saying that it's a torn hamstring. Bengals are fearful that he is out for the rest of the season.
Severely torn.
Oh, so sad. And then we also, on the Buffalo side of the ball, Shady leaves the game at halftime. He dislocates his thumb and misses the entire second half. Fortunately, it does not seem like he is going to miss any additional time. At least that's what they're saying right now. Mike Gillislee did do a good job filling in for him after McCoy was out. And then, as Sal said in the open, it came out that Giovanni Bernard tore his ACL and will also be done for the rest of the season. So the Bengals lost not only the game today, but they lost a lot. So, Kev, what did you take from this game?
Yeah, I mean, a moment of silence for A.J. Green owners because, that's just tough. He's obviously such a great talent. This will be his first year in the league, by the way. If he doesn't play again this season, this will be his first year in the league that he doesn't score 1,000 or catch 1,000 yards receiving. So that's sad for him. Just all around sad day for him. Going out on the first or the second play or whatever it was, and just he looked like he was in a lot of pain. So best of luck with his recovery. I think it pretty much puts a nail in the coffin of Cincinnati as well. Not only losing this game, but losing him. Their season's probably done. Even though no one in that division is really running away with it, but I just can't see them competing.
They haven't played well, and they also lost Jack Wagon on defense over there. What's his name?
No, he came back, I think. Perfect.
Oh, I thought Perfect was still out.
No, I think he came back in that game.
Well, they should lose him. They
should lose him anyway, but as far as the fantasy perspective, Tyler Boyd filled in admirably, I guess. I mean, no one's going to replace A.J. Green, but 6 catches on 8 targets for 54 yards and a touchdown, not bad. Definitely a guy that is probably going to be available on a waiver wire and probably going to be one of the number one pickups this week, I would imagine. Tough to see Tyler Eifert getting nothing done on this one, but I think that's probably going to happen when you don't have A.J. Green. So I could see some of the effects of A.J. Green being gone on Tyler Eifert going forward. So that's something you're going to have to temper your expectations with what he does, because it just takes away another option so defenses can focus on him. All around, I think, with Giovanni Bernard going down, I think you're probably going to see more Jeremy Hill. I mean, but he's, obviously Sal throws Rex Burkhead out there. Run to your waiver wire now.
Burkhead.
I'm loving what I mean. I don't like to see anybody get hurt. I don't own Gio anywhere because I am a big Jeremy Hill guy. So I always, as a truther, always grab Hill and I never touch Bernard. So I'm not happy to see the guy get hurt. But I think that if you are a Hill owner, he's going to be heavily, especially with AJ Green out. It's going to become his offense, in my opinion. I think that he can catch the ball out of the backfield.
Kind of has to.
Yeah, he's not Gio Bernard catching the ball, but he can catch the ball. He's done it before. So I think that obviously a huge uptick in his offense for Hill. And I got a feeling that there might be another wide receiver, and not LaFell, not Boyd. Maybe this guy Wright steps up as the downfield guy rather.
Yeah, we'll see what happens when they actually have some time to regroup and game plan for their next game. So, but I think you're not gonna know until after you see another game. So by then, it's not really gonna help you too much. On the Buffalo side of the ball, I thought it was interesting that if they're not worried about LaShawn McCoy's thumb injury, that he didn't return for the game. So that was kind of interesting to me, but it sounds like he's going to be fine, so you got to hope he's going to be fine. If he's not, hopefully you have Mike Gillislee, because he continues to run well whenever Shady's out. 14 carries, 72 yards, 5.1 yards per carry average. He looked really good, doesn't get anything in the end zone. And I don't think he's effective at all in the passing game like LaShawn McCoy is, but definitely a serviceable fill-in. The Bills also lost Robert Woods in this one. He was seen on crutches. He had a knee injury. He kind of got rolled up on. So he had a knee injury. If you've been starting him, he's been somewhat serviceable over the last few weeks. And, in particular, that receiving core in Buffalo really doesn't have much to show for it. So he has been getting a lot of targets at least. So he leaves with crutches. Who knows how long he'll be out for. I haven't really seen if it's going to be a long-term injury or not, but that's another thing to keep an eye on. And Tyrod Taylor does what Tyrod Taylor does, which is 166 yards, embarrassing from a passing standpoint. He chipped in only 39 yards this time and didn't score at all, so rough day for him.
Well, he did score a rushing touchdown that got called back on a hold.
Right.
And it was a questionable hold. It really sucked because I started him in two DFS lineups where that same lineup I was talking about earlier, where if he would have even gotten that touchdown, I would have been in the money. So it was rough. It was rough in there today. I had so many other guys perform, so that was a little hurtful. But yeah, that's what I get for trusting Tyrod Taylor. I've been against using him all year, and the first time I use him, right upside the ass.
That's great. Everyone thanks you for that, Sal. Everyone.
All right. Anything else from this one, you guys?
No, I'm sufficiently depressed. Let's move on.
Okie dokie. Then let's talk about the Buccaneers traveling to Arrowhead and beating the Chiefs in their home stadium, 19-17. Alex Smith has a nice fantasy day, throwing for over 250 and a touchdown, and also rushing for a touchdown. But then he threw an interception that ended up costing his team the game. Travis Kelce goes for over 100 yards. Spencer Ware held to 85 total yards in a matchup you thought was probably going to be a little bit better for him. Jameis Winston continues to impress me, throwing for over 300 yards and a touchdown. Still, looks like makes some rookie mistakes, looks like, throws the ball into some coverage when he should be throwing it away. But, it is what it is from him. Mike Evans gets a ton of targets, goes over for 100 yards yet again. Sal, what did you take from the Bucs and the Chiefs on Sunday?
Well, first of all, you and I are both happy with the results of this game as a Raider and Bronco fans. It was awesome.
Yes.
To me, I thought this was a gimme win for Kansas City at home. They haven't been losing anywhere, let alone at home. So that was awesome. Jameis Winston has played well. KS44 said to me today, hey, what do you think of Winston now? Like, yeah, I still don't like him, jokingly. But 331 is nice, but the one touchdown, he only comes out with 17.4 points, which is a nice day from your fantasy quarterback, but it's not the 20 plus you're hoping to get out of a guy. I mean, Alex Smith had more than him, had 2 more points than him today. Alex Smith, did I say Alex Smith? Alex Smith.
Yes.
We had a little bit of a scare here, right? Because somebody said, hey, Doug Martin re-injured his hamstring. We all thought Kevin was an idiot for dropping Peyton Barber. But, Kevin, you are not an idiot, sir.
Thank you.
I will say it to your face anyway.
I appreciate that. I'm going to clip that and constantly play it for myself, like every morning.
Your ringtone.
So it'll be like a self-help, for me on the way to work.
Doug Martin dominated touches, 24 carries. So I would say going forward, you could be very comfortable as long as he is healthy with his output and what he's going to get. He also had 3 receptions for 42 yards. So it was nice to see him getting use on both sides. Mike Evans, as we know, is a weekly start, so 6 for 105 is just something you come to expect out of him. Spencer Ware had 2 goal line shots. He was so close at the 1 yard line. That would have really turned a mediocre day into a good day. So Spencer Ware is starting to be a RB2 type of guy for me. He's lost that RB1 luster from the beginning of the season. Travis Kelce had a carry in this game for -5 yards. What was this today with tight ends getting rushes? A little nutty out there, but he ended up with 7 receptions for 108 yards. And Brooksy, call me. I know you're trading him. I'm interested. Just saying. Kev, what did you see in this game?
Yeah, I thought everyone's darling coming into the game was Tyreek Hill. He only gets 4 catches on 5 targets for 53 yards. So not a terrible day, but certainly not what you were looking for against a Tampa Bay defense who had been giving up the most points to wide receivers. I guess we all thought it was going to be him. Turns out it was Kelce with the 108 yards and the 7 receptions. On the other side of the ball, I will say, while I agree with you, Sal, the Doug Martin usage was definitely positive sign, considering he had the 24 carries and he was involved in the passing game, gets 4 targets. He wasn't very effective on the ground. I don't know if that was just because Kansas City's defense was bottling him up a little bit, and they weren't really running the ball very well. He wasn't getting good blocking, that's for sure. But a 2.6 yards per carry average isn't exactly what you're looking for. But at least he did have the lion's share, like you said, which is why I was comfortable dropping Peyton Barber. Obviously, still an injury risk for Doug Martin, but I think with Jacquizz Rodgers hopefully coming back next week, I should say, you're not going to see Peyton Barber too much for the rest of the season. So outside of that, really not much in this game. I mean, not a lot to love here. Mike Evans, Steve, do you always start Mike Evans?
Of course. You always start Mike Evans.
You can bench Mike Evans, though, right?
I don't recommend it.
No, what are we talking about?
I don't recommend it.
Kevin,
at the beginning of the year,
segment.
At the beginning of the year, we had to talk. There were questions about Mike Evans.
There were questions,
and we said you don't ever bench Mike Evans,
right.
Ever. You don't ever bench him.
Never, ever.
And still stands true. Obviously, in a day he doesn't score, he still gets 105 yards. He's just a beast.
Yep. All right.
Oh, by the way, the one other thing I had written down here was a quote from Gus, our friend Gus. Who the hell is Alan Cross? Anyone know?
Good question. I don't know.
I did think it was funny. He thought that was Mike Evans' middle name, Alan Cross. So that was good. Anyway,
he was one of today's vultures.
Yeah. Was that a vulture?
I never heard a vulture before. I just took a shot in the dark.
Yeah, that might not be too far off.
It sounded more like a screeching car to me.
Yeah. Well, can you confirm that's not what a vulture sounds like?
Yes.
All right. Impressive.
Yes, I can.
Right. And we move on.
All right. Let's talk about the Giants and them winning their 5th straight game. They beat the Chicago Bears 22-16. This game was also pretty ugly and also full of sadness. After starting the game hot with 3 catches and 61 yards for a touchdown, Zach Miller breaks his foot. He is out for the remainder of the season. So someone who was in line for a huge increase of volume with Alshon being in rehab is no more. Jordan Howard, he has a nice afternoon with 99 total yards, gets the touchdown vultured by Jeremy Langford. For the Giants, a rather blah day from everybody there. Will Tye, Sterling Shepard, and Rashad Jennings all find the end zone, but no one really goes absolutely crazy yardage-wise. So, Sal, what are you taking away from this game in New York?
Yes, I mentioned earlier about Cameron Meredith when we were talking about possible replacements for Jones. Again, not a great day, but definitely the best receiving day out of any wide receiver that was on the field. So I think going forward, Cameron Meredith is let's call him a high-end wide receiver 3 before we get too crazy. And we'll see where he goes forward from there. But he's definitely a guy in a 16-team league where we have him, where I would consider using him in my flex. Jordan Howard dominated the touches in this game, but he gets vultured. Was that better?
No, that was worse. Oh, please stop. Just please stop.
He's just getting higher.
It's getting worse. It's getting so much worse.
Jeremy Langford gets the touchdown to ruin the day for the Howard owners. Cutler was Cutler. We don't need to even remotely discuss that. Odell Beckham Jr. came back down to earth after having a couple of great games. He was wide receiver 1 in standard fantasy over the last 5 weeks and wide receiver 3 in PPR fantasy over the last 5 weeks, and he had only played 4 games in that time. So he had really gotten himself back on track. So this one was definitely disappointing for people who were expecting him to step up and give you a good output. Rashad Jennings suddenly starts to look like a RB1 in fantasy football. He's not going to be going forward, but he does look like he has done enough to secure the starting job and be the main touch getter in this backfield. So Perkins will have to wait until possibly an injury or next year. Right now it is Jennings. Eli has a serviceable game, 227 and 2 touchdowns. And your boy Sterling Shepard is a guy I had in all my DFS lineups, and only 5 for 50, but the touchdown coupled with that, and since that's full point PPR, had a very nice output for anybody who started him today. Kevin, what do you want to speak about? Miller, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sad about Miller. I think we talked about him quite a bit in the preseason, and he's been very serviceable throughout the season as a good tight end option. Obviously, even more so with Jay Cutler, was having a great day before he went down. Sucks to lose him for the year. I don't know that there's really anyone on this team. I mean, like you said, Sal, Cameron Meredith, I guess, is the guy. He might see even more targets with Miller and Alshon both out, but I don't love any of these guys enough to really say that I'm going all in on any of them. Logan Paulson, he was a thing once back in Washington, so that can happen.
I remember those days.
Yeah.
So was Marion Berry. Remember him?
Jarrell Adams had 1 target, Sal. So.
Yeah, Jarrell Adams was
non-factor.
He was too soon.
Yeah.
Will Tye had a nice game though, didn't he?
Will Tye had
2 for 12.
2 for 12, but he got the touchdown. So
Now he's tied with Jarrell Adams.
No. I'm just saying.
Oh boy.
Just saying.
Oh,
no,
boy.
not a whole lot else on this game. I mean, I think he pretty much covered it. It was kind of a blah game as well. So.
All right. Well, then we will move on and talk about the Vikings ending their 4-game losing streak and beating the Arizona Cardinals 30-24. The Vikings defense comes alive in this one. They score a pick 6, and they also score on a kickoff return. Matt Asiata finds the end zone, as did Adam Thielen on a very nice catch. David Johnson, this is why he is the fantasy MVP over Zeke Elliott. I know you're listening, David Johnson. I just want you to know that we here at FLAFFL are very proud of you, and we always believed in you and knew that you were going to be so awesome. He totals 160 yards and gets 2 touchdowns. Kev, why don't you talk about this game a little bit more?
David Johnson is phenomenal. We do love him here in FLAFFL. I love him on several of my teams. He is incredible. And if you want to come on the show, we would love to have you, by the way. That would be great. Larry Fitzgerald continues to produce, although not as good as he has been in this one. But I think that was really more a factor of how bad Carson Palmer looked in this one. But he gets 6 catches for 63 yards on 7 targets. So, I mean, David Johnson leads the way with the 11 targets. No one else in this game had anything even remotely close to that besides Larry Fitzgerald with his 7. Outside of that, Michael Floyd had 5 targets. Again, out of nowhere. I don't get it. Jermaine Gresham makes a nice touchdown catch, but only because pure effort. John Brown gets targeted 4 times and 0. He has nothing. No catches. J.J. Nelson, 5 targets, 1 catch, but no yards. What the hell is going on in Arizona's receiving corps? Can anyone tell me? Can either of you guys tell me what's going to happen next week with these receivers? Aside from Larry Fitzgerald, we'll have a good day.
John Brown was also the main reason that interception got taken back 100 yards for a touchdown. He didn't break properly on his route, He didn't do what he had to do, and they just look lost out there. I mean, this was a team that preseason
Super Bowl,
when questions, even forget about the Super Bowl, I'm talking from a fantasy standpoint. Yes, and I picked them for the Super Bowl, so I agree with you. But when the question was asked, what team in the NFL has the most fantasy goodness players on it, the guys that you can get the most out of this year, I think this was far and away the team everybody chose. They were 3 deep at wide receiver. They had a second to none second-year running back. And Carson Palmer was coming off of a good year. And I just want to tell you, Carson Palmer, Steve, get the button ready because you're a sack of shit. And you have absolutely ruined my season in one league because matchup after matchup where I think he just can't be this bad. It's like you forgot how to play football. He is back there, and he looks less confident than Carson Wentz, Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, Cody Kessler, whatever Kessler's, the Kessler brothers.
All of the Kesslers.
His aunts, the whole Kessler gang. It's atrocious back there. I don't understand how they continue to go forward with him, but what really is their choice?
Yeah, what are they going to do? I mean, you go to Drew Stanton?
You've seen the other options.
They're
not any better.
I'll take Drew. Bring him, Drew. Let's go.
There's no way Drew Stanton is any better than Carson Palmer.
I will tell you this, Kevin. You're so lucky that Kyle Rudolph touchdown got called back on a penalty because I was coming at you so hard.
Yeah.
It was early in the game and he had that touch and I was all ready to start typing and I saw that flag and I was like, damn you.
2 for 12.
So,
solid day.
Yeah, well, there would have been a touchdown in there. I would have stuck it up the kazoo.
Still would have been nothing. Adam Thielen chips in 5 for 65 and a touchdown, which screwed me in FLAFFL again. I just don't know. I guess I can't trust him. I don't know if you guys can. I can't trust him. I can't bring myself to actually put him in a lineup, even in a 16-team league. So
I played him in 2 places today.
Yeah, I mean, I heard we talked about it earlier, and I heard the same report you did that he was going to be more involved because Peterson was going to be on Diggs, and I saw that, and I still couldn't pull the trigger on it. I don't know. I
blame Bradford. I can't start him every week because of Bradford.
That's what I'm saying.
Not necessarily because of him.
You look at Sam Bradford, and I can't expect anything. It's like the running game out here. You really just can't. There's no way to tell who's going to do what. Obviously, McKinnon gets 16 carries, 44 yards, but Asiata gets 5 for 20 and gets the goal line. So who knows?
Bradford checked in with his Alex Smith game today.
Yeah,
20 for 28 for 169 yards and 1 touchdown.
Yeah, he out Alex Smith.
Yeah, he outsmithed him.
He outsmithed him. It's very impressive. Outside of that, there's nothing out of this game that I really feel like continuing to discuss. You guys?
Let's move on so Kevin's not upset.
Yes, let's. So Kev's not upset. So let's talk about the Dolphins and the Rams. Dolphins winning this game 14-10. This game was pretty ugly all throughout until, like Sal mentioned, the Dolphins came on late and ended up winning this one. But, Sal, I want to ask you about what you thought of Jared Goff's first start and how you think the Rams looked with him under center today.
Not very good. It looked like more of the same to me. I mean, Jeremy Gurley?
Jeremy Gurley?
Who the hell is Jeremy Gurley? Guys, I need to take a nap. I definitely am getting old. I can't.
Oh, man.
He did score, though. That Jeremy Gurley's a lot better than Todd Gurley.
Is that Jeremy Hill and Todd Gurley's
Jeremy Gurley, Todd's brother, was watching this game in front row seats, and he was impressed with Todd Gurley early in the game. He looked really good. He looked like he had some explosion. He slowed down in the second half, but I would say it looked a little bit better. Goff has a strong arm, so strong that when he threw the Hail Mary at the end of the game, there was not a single Rams player in the end zone.
Smart way to do it.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody noticed that. He threw a ball that was 4 Miami Dolphins, and most of them were the receiving core of the Miami Dolphins.
And Devontae Parker dropped it.
Yeah, and there was no Rams, so I don't know. I think that I think this spells the end to the Rams season, to be honest with you. The defense played phenomenal for 3.5 quarters and then just absolutely fell apart.
There's still time for them to be 8-8.
Yeah, 8-8's great. They might actually come in second place in that division, 8-8, with the way the Cardinals are playing. So, yeah, I don't care what member of the Gurley family is back there. I do not like the way that this offense looks with Goff, with Keenum. or with Drew Stanton.
Fair enough. Kev, do you have anything to add from this game? It was pretty rough.
It's pretty rough. I don't know that you can trust anyone on the Rams side of the ball. I did think Landry got a touchdown, so there's that.
Did Landry get the touchdown, or was he gang
his entire offensive line rammed him into the end zone?
Whatever, he got in there, all right. He was holding the ball when he crossed the goal line. Devontae Parker has the better day overall, 8 for 79 and a touchdown. But no, there's nothing here. J.J. has a second straight block game. Doesn't get in the end zone, 77 yards, 4.8 yards per carry average, so that's nice. But without anyone else in the offense doing anything, he's gonna look like Jeremy Gurley really quickly.
Underrated. Jeremy Gurley is underrated.
Let's talk about the Patriots going into San Francisco and easily disposing of the 49ers, winning that game 30-17. That was a 13-point win, which I must say in my betting article this week, I had the Steelers -9 and the Patriots -13. Both of those games ended up being a push. Yeah. So that's lame. Yep. Anyway, Tom Brady, he was awesome. He throws for 280 yards and 4 touchdowns. Julian Edelman has a nice game. LeGarrette Blount has a nice game. Also gets a late cheap TD. And the 49ers almost gets a late cheap TD. Sorry. The 49ers stuffed him at the line as time was expiring. And what happened to Martellus Bennett, Kev? What happened there?
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Martellus Bennett. I'm not really sure why he was. I think he blocked quite a bit, which is weird for me because I don't think you need to block against San Francisco. I think everyone just runs. So I'm not sure why he was in blocking. But Brady was seeing a little bit of pressure early on in the game. If you watch the game, closely, he was getting pressured. There were parts of the game a little later where he just had all day to throw. So you may not have noticed, but he was getting pressured. So I
noticed. Kev, not to cut you off, and I'll let you get back to your point. I was going to say, did you feel like they easily disposed of San Francisco? Because I watched a lot of this game, and I thought this game was in doubt in the third quarter, personally.
I don't know that it was ever in doubt in the third quarter. I mean, look, if you look at the score, it was 13-10 going into the third quarter or going into the fourth quarter. So I don't know that it. Look, did you really think that there was a chance they were going to lose the game though?
I started to get that feeling that they just weren't getting it done. Obviously they turned it up in the fourth quarter like they're able to do, and they disposed of them as Steve said, but. No, yeah, I thought that there was the chance that they could have blown this game. Definitely.
Look, I'm with you. I think it wasn't as clear a victory. They didn't coast the way I would have expected them to. I would have expected they get up early and then just kind of cruise. It was certainly the other way around. It was a little tense in the beginning, and then they just turned it on. But I think that's what you can do with a team like San Francisco. You can just sort of, you kind of know you can score later on, so you just wear them down, and that's sort of what's been going on with San Francisco all year. They let the run game just destroy them, and then eventually give it up. So, I think So to your question, Steve, I think Martellus Bennett was used an awful lot in the passing game, which kind of screwed a lot of people because I know everyone had high hopes. San Francisco hadn't been terrible against the tight end to begin with. I'm looking it up now, but I think they were where are we? Pretty far down the list.
We are in the Falafel House.
Oh, hey, Falafel House, great, nice. 19th against the tight end, only giving up 7.2 points per game. So they weren't terrible against the tight end anyway. And like I said, I think he was just blocking a lot. I did think Malcolm Mitchell looked pretty good in his limited time. He had 5 targets, had 4 catches, 98 yards. Obviously, the big one was a 56-yarder. Looked great on that catch and run. Edelman finally looked good, I thought. They actually could have had a huge game in this one, but Brady missed him a couple of times, overthrew him. I think on 3 plays that I can remember off the top of my head that would have been pretty large gains. He ends up with 8 for 77 and a touchdown, finally getting in the end zone. You got to like that, Steve, right?
Yeah, that was awesome. Oh. That was awesome. Yeah, I totally agree. It could have been a lot bigger, a lot of wide open plays that were just overthrown a bit, and Edelman would have been running for quite a while.
I also thought it was interesting to see, the uses of Dion Lewis was going to be a big thing coming in. I think everyone expected him to be rested quite a bit. I was one of the guys, and not, for no other reason than I just don't think the Patriots rest guys. Outside of Gronk, I've never seen them really take it slow on guys coming back from injury. Usually if you're out there, they make you play, and that's what they did here. Obviously, James White was still involved. Dion Lewis didn't look like he had that same wiggle that he had last year, but a first game back after such a long time off, you kind of have to expect that. He did play 21 snaps out of the 77 offensive snaps that the Patriots took. He had 10 looks overall, which is 5 rushes and 5 targets. So, and not a bad day. He was fairly productive. James White gets the touchdown here for out of the running backs, but 6 catches for 63 yards. So he was definitely more productive. It was good to see Lewis on the field, and I think he'll continue to be more involved. On the other side of the ball, I mean, Colin Kaepernick I thought he actually played pretty well. He doesn't throw the ball great. He's either like just gunning it or it's a wobbly duck. But I mean, he made decent he made decent reads. He didn't pull down and run too often, and I just thought he played pretty well. And I think he's serviceable from a fantasy perspective. 206 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then another 32 on the ground. So not a bad day overall. Carlos Hyde had another decent day, 19 rushes for 86 yards. Doesn't get in the end zone. Sean Drone gets the passing reception or the receiving touchdown, so that kind of screwed everyone. Quentin Patton was a guy that I had on a lot of DraftKings lineup, and that kind of screwed me because he did absolutely nothing. I thought he might be useful in this one, but he was more useful than Jeremy Curley.
Who, by the way, I had in some DraftKings lineups.
Not related to Jeremy Gurley, by the way. Just not. They're not related.
They are cousins.
They're
cousins on their father's side.
Good.
Interesting.
Other than that, I don't know that there's too much from the San Francisco offense that excites anyone.
I think Vance McDonald's been getting more looks the last couple of weeks. He's a guy you might, if you, let's say on a weekly basis, you're getting a 0 out of your tight end in, let's say, a 16-team league like FLAFFL. He's a guy you might want to pick up and put in there.
There you go. All right. Well, if that's all from that one, we are going to move on to the final game, and that is the Seahawks.
We're on to Seattle.
We're on to Seattle. We're on to Seattle. All right. The Seahawks continue their November resurgence, and they beat the Eagles 26-15. Another good game for Russell Wilson, giving him 3 straight games of 24 points or more in fantasy. Doug Baldwin has another really nice game, but we are going to ask Sal, what do you think of Thomas Rawls in his first game back? We heard CJ Prosise left this game suffering an injury to his shoulder. I believe it is the same type of injury that Dante Moncrief had. We don't know yet if it is a fractured shoulder blade or not, but it is the same scapula injury.
Scapula. They've reported an 8-week timeline right now.
Hello, he was talking to me.
Sorry.
I see. So yes, Sal, if you'd like to answer this question.
Well, Steve, you may or may not have heard this recently, but there is an 8-week timeline out there for him, which essentially means CJ Prosise in non-keeper or dynasty leagues is droppable because he will not be back in time to help you for anything fantasy related. And Thomas Rawls, he looked good at times. He even caught the ball well out of the backfield. I think he looked like he had some good speed and his power was there. And I don't see a reason why, especially with Prosise out of the way, and Christine Michael sitting on the not playing list over there with Green Bay, why he's not a clear-cut RB2 going forward. This offense just looks like it's running on all cylinders. I had one of these deals going on today. I had Baldwin going in a place where I needed him. I had Graham going in a place where I needed him. And I had both of them going against me in FLAFFL. So it was kind of like, no, okay, just go. Maybe Russell Wilson could get tackled at the 1 and not go in for the touchdown pass. But that worked out for me because where I have him, it was a 6-point touchdown pass. So, I'll win in that league and I'll lose in the other ones. But Baldwin is back weekly, performing at a great rate. Russell Wilson, Steve, you're very happy that he's back performing the way that he is.
Yes, and indeed.
This offense has something everywhere right now, so there's a lot to like about it. Over on the Philadelphia side, I think Zach Ertz is a guy we were all bad-mouthing the other day, especially me. But not a big yardage day, but 6 catches and a touchdown. and he looked like he wasn't bothered at all by the hamstring injury. Sproles injured, Matthews injured, Smallwood is here. So, by the way, another guy that Steve did own at one point in FLAFFL and will now likely be a starting running back, and he no longer owns him. So,
correct.
The tradition continues there. So, good job, Steve.
That is correct. If I drop him, go and get him.
Kev, you see anything else in this game?
Not really. I think that Alex Collins is a name to keep in mind, just in case. I'm not sure what happened, but Troy Maine Pope was a running back that was activated from the practice squad recently for Seattle, and with Procise going down, obviously, as you mentioned, Kristen Michael gone. Troy Maine Pope was in line to be the backup to Thomas Rawls, but now Alex Collins will probably have to be activated, as I think he's probably the only one left on their team. So just a guy to keep in mind. I don't know if he's going to get any run or anything like that, but definitely keep an eye on that. Outside of that, I don't know that there's too much else to talk about. It is really good to see Russell Wilson back to the way he was at the end of last year. And Kenyon Barner, another guy, right? I mean, Smallwood's going to be the starter, I think, but Barner's the guy to keep an eye on and keep in your mind as far as guys who may be looking to step up at some point.
He's a handcuff now for show.
Absolutely.
He is a handcuff. That's all. That's all
it?
the games I got. This great Packers-Washington game that's going on. Tons of points being scored. I absolutely love watching my chances at a win go up in flames while we podcast. It's amazing.
Yeah. You know what's awesome is I'd like to bring up, sorry to cut you off, Kev, but I'd also like to bring up that Jameson Crowder was a guy you once had on your FLAFFL roster.
I drafted him.
Yes, you did. And this is a guy on a weekly basis, including today, I had to convince people to start. This guy is a wide receiver too. Period. I don't care your format. He should be in your lineup.
Put him in there.
Sure. Just another guy.
Yeah, you're wrong on that.
I know. I got to stop saying that now. I mean, at this point, it's definitely he's turned a corner, and he looks great. I will admit my defeat in that one. I'm clearly kidding at this point. He's been very solid. So, couldn't agree with you more there. Thank you, Steve, for running us through these games. We really appreciate that. Would you kindly get to your final thought?
Absolutely. Thank you all for sticking around for this episode of the FLAFFL House podcast. If you'd like to follow us on Twitter, you can do that at FLAFFL House. You can find our Facebook page, like it. It is at FLAFFL House as well. Find us on Instagram. Just search for FLAFFL House there, and go to flafflehouse.com for all types of daily fantasy goodness that you can help you win your fantasy championships, unlike what I'm doing, which is not winning anything.
Well, you shouldn't get greedy anyway. You won it last year. Spread it around a little bit. But
that's true.
Do you have a chance to pull it out and win this week? No?
I've got a chance. It's not over.
I hope so. I'd like to beat you again next year. Yeah, I don't got a whole lot going on other than Jared Cook. I missed out on another goddamn tight end. Anyway, go ahead, Kev.
I just want to thank everyone for listening as well, and just remind you that we love reviews. It would be great if you went to iTunes or wherever you get your podcast and reviewed. And thank you, Sal, for reminding everyone of that while I was out, by the way. That was nice of you.
I do what I do.
We will talk to you again on Tuesday for us, which will be probably Wednesday for you. And until then, Steve, hit the button.